So guys, thank you very much for joining in. We're going to be starting out the session in a few minutes. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining for the today's session. And I'm Ganesh Nayak. I'm a finance trainer and also a career coach who guides people into various streams like finance, marketing, and consulting. And apart from that, I'm also into consulting related to financial analysis and statements to companies. And the entire idea about this presentation or webinar is to help candidates, students, or people who are new to finance to understand how the finance industry works. And we are going to be doing smaller such sessions in future wherein we are going to be imparting knowledge about specific topics on finance. And since as the logic of that webinar, we are starting out with this session, which is basically on how an investment bank or IB works. Okay, and we're going to starting out with the agenda. The agenda will primarily talk first about what exactly is an investment bank and how is it a different entity from commercial bank. What makes it a different entity? Then what is the role of an investment bank in the entire economy, and how does it actually helps businesses and other small companies? Further, we'll also see the structure within the IB. This is very, very important for you because if you're planning to join an investment bank in near future, or you're currently working in an investment bank, this will help you to understand the entire structure from a macro view and how they are functioning within teams. Then the next part is what all different kinds of services that an IB offers to its client, and these are the primary revenue source for them. And we're going to be talking a few revenue source in detail. Like the first, we're going to be talking about underwriting. So, investment banks basically provide their knowledge in when they underwrite an IPO or, for example, a bond issue, and they basically help an issuer to raise out money from the market, and how an investment bank basically helps them doing that. So that is there. And secondly, we're going to be also talking about merger and acquisition. And within merger and acquisition, that's a very fancy term. We're going to see how a buy side and a sell side M&A generally works. What are the broad steps that have been taken, and what all kind of different services within the M&A sphere the IB basically offers, investment bank generally offers. Then we're also going to be talking about sales and trading. This is generally a front office part combined with the merger and acquisition piece. But majority of people don't talk about sales and trading because it's very hectic, very stressful work, and also a very big revenue generating portion for the investment bank. Then we're going to be talking about what exactly is investment banking doing in asset management related role on a broader level. And then we're going to be talking about few of the examples of IB which are there in globally and India, especially Bombay, Delhi, and Kolkata and Bangalore. And finally, we are going to be opening up the section for queries. So with this, we'll start with the first important topic. What exactly is an investment bank and how it differs from a commercial bank? Okay, so commercial bank is primarily into lending out to individuals or small businesses, like you have a retail saving account or fixed deposit, or say SME segment, or primarily somebody needs a working capital loan, so they will go to an investment bank. And the kind of services they offer in a commercial bank is you can withdraw your cash, you can issue checks to your client, you can do NEFT, RTGS, you can issue letter of credit to your clients, a line of credit is given to businesses, working capital loans are provided. So those kind of services which are primarily uh, to businesses which are in a small scale or kind of an SME plus big bulge companies to a certain extent. But investment bank on another hand is doing business on a different scale. So their primary motive is to give an ability to a company or a corporation to raise capital for their business, right? So if they want to generate asset and generate income for their business, they will have to take debt, they will have to issue equity. So those kind of services are generally provided, and investment banks offer a lot of those services through underwriting the security and also giving financial advisory to institutions like government, big corporations like Tata, Reliance, Birla. So those kind of big institutions, and also government organizations like Biran Mumbai Municipal Corporation, then Government of India, ONGC, then HPCL. So those kind of quasi government organizations are also being provided with the services, right? And they also help out companies in merger and acquisition. So we're going to be doing a detailed deep dive into those kind of activities also. But on a broader scale, a commercial banking scope of operation is very, very small as compared to IB, because they do a lot of huge level of funding. They also provide leverage buyout options. They also provide structured finance, which a normal commercial bank might not be able to offer to its client. So that is the broader structure of investment bank, and how they differ from a commercial bank. Now, what is the role of an investment bank in an economy? So what they do is, at one end of a spectrum in economy is somebody who has a capital. They have a capital surplus. So those are generally your hedge funds, wherein some HNIs or some companies come and invest money as a pool, and that pool of money is invested on their behalf. Okay, that then there you also find insurance companies, pension fund companies like LIC, Reliance Pension Fund, ICICI Pension Fund, those kind of Reliance Insurance, HDFC Insurance. So those kind of business who have get a lot of cash in terms of premium from their clients, and they are looking for avenues to invest in these kind of businesses in opportunities. So they are also there in the capital provider segment, and also we will find mutual funds who are kind of an asset management company, similar to what you have an Access Mutual Fund or Access Asset Management Company. Then you have HDFC Asset Management Company in India, and these companies provide primarily collect money from individuals. These are retail customers through SIPs or through single investments, and they generate a pool of money and then they invest on behalf of them. So they play a huge chunk in investing, collecting money from the economy and allocating that money to people who are in need. Okay, but apart from these general segments, apart from these general people who are there with a lot of money, there are also sovereign wealth funds. Okay, sovereign wealth funds, that means Abu Dhabi Investment Corporation is one of the big sovereign wealth fund which is available, and based on their oil income, they generate money, and they have invested in a lot of bigger companies like Amazon, WeWork, right? And there are also foreign portfolio investors. So there are a lot of HNIs globally. Okay, for example, Warren Buffett or Jeff Bezos, who has a lot amount of equity, a lot of money. They invest globally. So those kind of people, they come to investment banks to get an avenue for their money, and whom they target to, they target to a lot of government organizations. Okay, so whenever a government is issuing a bond, they need people to buy that bond. So either a hedge fund or mutual fund or an HNI will go and buy those kind of big ticket bonds from the government. And then you will also find a lot of municipal corporations, not only in India but also in US. They issue a lot of interim bonds and short-term bonds for a particular project or for a particular structured investment. They need money, and for that they go to the investment bank to generate that income for them, to generate that money for them. Then also there are a lot of smaller businesses who sometimes go to investment bank for raising money. So primarily what we are doing is, there's a capital surplus, and we are actually sending that money to capital surplus. And how investment investment bank is actually doing that. They are providing a lot of services. The first and the primary service is the research. Okay, so hedge fund might be having an access to an investment bank research arm, research reports, and on the basis of that research report, they are actually taking a decision. Then there is a business of sales being done. So what happened is that if suppose a government of India wants to issue a bond, or suppose an institution within a government of India, like Hindustan Petroleum, wants to issue a bond, they will go to an investment bank and they will appoint an investment bank as a manager, so lead manager for that issue. And they, on the behalf of Hindustan Petroleum, the investment bank will primarily go in the market and will try to find buyers for them, right? So that is actually a sales kind of role that an investment bank does in terms of selling security to somebody who has a lot of money. Okay, then this is generally done in the primary market, where there is a lot of issues, first-hand issues happen. And then you have a trading business, wherein in a secondary market, then that can be your exchange or can be your OTC market, where that OTC is primarily your over-the-counter market. And these two markets where investment bank acts as a dealer, acts as a market maker, and help their clients to either sell or buy the security. Okay, so these three services are generally provided, and through these broad level services, they try to get capital from the surplus candidates and provide it to people who are in need of capital. Okay, now broad structure within an IB, which you will find across major IBs. There might be some a little bit difference in terms of structure, but you will find the most important structure within IB is front office. This is a client dealing operation, wherein the first part is IBD, investment banking. They do a lot of underwriting, merger and acquisition, fundraising business within IB. Okay, so you'll find a lot of your IIM graduates getting hired over there to do a fundraising activity for their investment bank. Then there is also sales and trading division that we just now talked about. So they do a lot of market making activity, wherein what they do is a client is in need of selling a security. So an investment bank will become a buyer for that client. If a client is in need to buy a security, the investment bank will become a seller for that client. Okay, so in that way, they're actually making money in between by offering a bid and offer price. Okay, so sales and trading division helps investment bank in a lot of revenue generating activity also, right? So that is a front office, and within this front office, they also provide structured product. These structured product can be your MBS, ABS, credit related derivatives, OTC derivatives are also in a part of in a way part of this structured product. Exotic derivatives are also part of this structured product domain, and also they provide the research services to their clients. So these front office are very critical because they are client facing. Then you have a middle office, which basically helps the front office to do a negotiation with the client. Okay, so primarily when they are doing a negotiation with the client, they need a back-end support. So middle office comes into picture, and you will find middle office within IB into your finance. There is a middle office team. There is an operational middle office team. There is a risk middle office team. So middle office is generally spread out across the spectrum within an IB, and their primary responsibility is to provide a first-hand support to the front office. Okay, and then you will also find a risk control activity being done by middle office. So what happens is that in a sales and trading business, whenever a trader is doing a trade and there is a mistake, for example, on that trader's side, then what happens is that it is the responsibility of the middle office and to a certain extent the back office team to help to mitigate that risk by raising an appropriate red flag or doing a reconciliation. If the trade details are not appropriately inputted in the risk system, then the middle office team is responsible for doing a coordination with the trading side. Okay, they do a lot of verification of the trades that happens. Okay, so a lot of confirmations activities are done in the middle office business also. Then they also track profit and loss. So in finance, you have a product control team, which basically does is they create a lot of daily P&L of all the sales and trading activity that is happening within IB. So they create P&L for your countries, for your regions. They create P&L for all your legal entity. They also create P&L for your product. For example, an IB might be into equity business, might be into fixed business, rates, and repo. So those kind of entire business structure, they bifurcate what all different P&L status is there on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, and they provide data to your senior management. So those kind of services are, those kind of activities are done in middle office, and these activities are bifurcated into your operations, your finance, risk management, compliance, technology. So middle office is spread across all of these operations. Then you will also find back office. Okay. Now over here, a lot of settlements, lot of clearing of the trades. Sometimes confirmations of the trades are also happens in your back office. And generally, what happens is that somebody who is managing a front office or a middle office is not given a responsibility of the back office. So there is a segregation of duty to reduce the risk that a investment bank actually faces. Okay, a lot of your reconciliation, account management, and record keeping is done at the back office level, and a lot of these activities are being outsourced to either e-clerks or State Street, Sintel, or on a work by work basis. So that IB is generally focusing on your front office and middle office. Okay, but there are big investment banks in India who have a big back office team available in India itself. Okay, and these back offices are spread across technology, operations, and risk management at a broader level. And majority of the team that you will see is into operations and risk at a back office level. And you have a strength of people who are supporting the entire front office, middle office, and back office. For example, corporate services. You have a security team. You have a compliance team. You have enterprise risk management team who supports all of them. Okay, then you have enterprise information team. So you, as an investment bank, you use lot of systems. So enterprise information team is primarily responsible for keeping and making sure that those systems are tagged properly. Somebody who needs an access to the system will have to go to the information management team. Then you have a technology team also separately who does a lot of support to the systems on which your front office, middle office, and back office is actually working on. Then you have audit and compliance on a broader scale, whose responsibility is to make sure these core functions of an IB is working smoothly. Okay, so if you go to an investment banking interview and you know these broad structure, it will become very easy for you to convince the candidate, convince the interviewer that you are interested into an IB and you are eligible. You know what an IB works into. Okay. Then what all different kinds of services an investment bank generally provides? First is your financial advisory. Okay. Suppose I am a company, Citigroup, and sorry, I am a company which is basically Mahindra and Mahindra, and I need to raise equity or I need to raise debt for my particular business who is into tractor making. Okay, and I don't know which market I should go. Should I borrow money from India? Should I borrow money from US or Japan? So basically, I will go to investment bank. They will give me guidance in terms of how you should raise money, how you should manage your money within your company. Okay, then a lot of investment banks also provide merger and acquisition services. So if suppose tomorrow Reliance Jio wants to acquire Vodafone in India, that they might not directly go and buy it. They might hire or engage an investment bank who will do a lot of activities in between for Reliance Jio before the actual acquisition happens. Okay, and that acquisition takes a lot of time, and investment banks do very few merger and acquisition in a year, but they make a lot of money from that, from those businesses. Okay, then you will also find private placement. This is a hugely competition based business, wherein if suppose Mitsubishi Corporation or Hitachi wants to raise money from Indian market, and they are not aware about Indian market services, what are the rules and regulations. So they will go to an investment bank who will do the entire activity of doing the underwriting, finding the lead manager, how which instrument they should issue, what should be the credit rating of that instrument. So entire end-to-end service is provided for debt and equity service, which are being issued to the general public. Okay, so those kind of private placement and IPO related services are offered also. Then you'll also find structured finance. This is basically coming into the domain of financial engineering. A lot of your investment banks do structured finance of mortgage-backed security. They will do CD, which is credit debt obligation, collateralized debt obligation, and collateralized loan obligation. So those kind of higher structured product, they provide this structured product to your businesses. For example, Hindustan Unilever. okay, or PNG. Okay, so these kind of bigger companies, they need structured product for their different business needs to reduce their taxation, to raise money at a very low cost amount. So they will engage investment bank to help them out with this structured business product side. And finally, they also do wealth management. Wealth management is at a broader level called as fund management, which includes also your asset management business. But the core concept is same. But you will find the audience for these wealth management, investment management, or asset management is very different. But the entire context is same, that an investment bank is helping a client to invest their money in appropriate asset and increase their wealth. Okay, so these are the broad services that an investment bank offers. We're going to be doing a deep dive into few of the services within this presentation. So first, we're going to be talking about underwriting. So underwriting, generally what investment bank does is they offer services for an initial public offer, but they also provide service for debt raising. For debt, if they want to issue debt and they want to raise money, say $100 million, $200 million from the UK market, they will engage in investment bank. Okay, and so that's where it is. That's why it is written on behalf of the corporation. They will do all the activity, and in the entire IPO process, they will make a certain amount of fees. Okay, and how do these kind of underwriting generally happen? Is first is a firm commitment. What happens is that suppose there is a smaller organization and they wish to sell their equity or IPO on a rate of $50 per share, and an investment bank, suppose JP Morgan, they feel, if JP Morgan feels I can buy the entire stocks of that corporation, and I can sell that stock in the market and the secondary market for 53, $54 per stock, then I will go and issue a firm commitment, which basically means that an underwriter agrees to buy the entire. So an investment bank will buy the entire issue or the stock from the corporation, and then it will sell at a higher price to the customers. Okay, and if an IB is going into this kind of commitment, then definitely the profit margin is huge, but the risk is also very huge. For example, if the IPO is a flop, then they will end up holding a lot of stock of a company which other clients are not willing to buy. Second is a best effort. Majority of the IBs generally go for these kind of structure wherein they will help a corporation or a business to raise equity in the market, but they will not give any guarantee. So if there is an oversubscription to the model, that's well and good. But if there is an undersubscription, then the corporation will not be able to raise sufficient amount from the IPO issue, and the entire responsibility falls upon the corporation. So IB or an investment bank does not take that responsibility of those unsold shares or equity. Okay. Then also there is a one more concept which very few investment bank actually works into. This is highly remunerative for an investment bank. It's basically all or nothing. So whenever an IB, JP Morgan suppose has an IB business and they go for an IPO, for example, of DMart in India, and they wish to raise out money, say for example 500 crore. So what they will primarily do is they will issue a lot of uh, these equity in the market, and they will float the equity. They will issue a price band. They will wait for the customers to come. If the entire 500 crore is not raised and the equity is closed, so basically it's all or nothing. So either you get, as a corporation, as a DMart, you will get either 500 crore or you will get nothing. Okay, so these things are generally done for private limited companies by an IB. So private placement is generally done through that. Okay, and what is an IB process? So first is your preparation of registration statement, which basically means that they will create a documentation which basically tells why do you want to raise money, what is the usage of that fund in the market. Okay, and then you will create a lot of your parameters. You will have your company's balance sheet, annual reports for the last 5 years. You will give your risk statement. You will give your profiles of your directors information, how what all amount of remuneration you are paying for them. So those kind of details gets into registration statement. Then you will create a draft hearing document. So these draft hearing documents are primarily going to the regulator in your country. So for example, if you want to raise money in India, so you will have to go to SEBI to raise to give to ask for a permission to raise money from the general public through private primary market. Okay, so these red hearing documents are submitted to your customer, to the regulator, and once they provide okay on that red herring perspective document, then only you are able then only you're able to go and issue equity or start the entire process. So you get a regulatory approval, and then you start with a road show. And what is a road show? So normally what happens is that before going to the retail customer, an investment bank will create a roadshow where he will call up a lot of institutional investments, like for example mutual fund, pension fund, insurance companies, and they will try to sell that IPO or that public that stock of that corporation to those institutional investment firms. For example, LIC has stakes in a lot of those companies, so they enter into this whole process through roadshow, and then they will buy the bulk of stocks. Okay, and once you have these bigger institutes taken over the stocks for you, then you have your book building process through which the stocks or the shares are open to the general retail public. And retail public in India especially, they open up, they go online, they commit in the IPO process with how many lots they want to buy, and through ASBA their amount gets freezed into an account, which if they get if they are allocated the actual stock, if they are allocated with the actual share, then the amount is debited from their account. So those kind of activities is generally happening in your pricing of the IPOs. A lot of your IPO process in India follows Dutch auction process. Okay, and finally you issue allocate shares to your investor, and the entire IPO process completes, and your the company is listed into a exchange, primarily on NSE or BSE. If it's a global company, that will get listed to a New York Stock Exchange or a Nasdaq. And then once you have the shares in, then you can go to a secondary market to actually trade on that share. Okay, so underwriting business is very important for your investment bank, very revenue generating business. Next, you will find merger and acquisition in detail. Why do you do a merger and acquisition? Primarily, so you have a corporation or a company basically engage investment bank into either a buy side or a sell side mandate. Now, what happens? Suppose I have a small business which I want to sell it to somebody else. Okay, so I will engage investment bank. I will go to Morgan Stanley and I will tell them, okay, I have a particular business. I want to sell it to someone. Please help me with that process. So they will look for prospective buyer in this process. Okay, go to a different scenario. If suppose I am Mahindra and suppose I am a Google and I have a lot of cash and I want to buy a particular startup. Okay, so I might go to an investment bank who might help me in finding a particular potential candidate which I can merge and buy out those. So generally, an investment bank is hired in two ways, either into a sell side or into a buy side activity. Okay, and what all different kinds of services they provide? Okay, so they provide strategic insights. When you're saying strategic insights, it basically means if suppose I want to buy a particular company, they will first analyze my whole corporation. They will see from where I will raise the money. They will go into look into what is my business. If suppose I wish to buy a particular company, will that actually match or not? So those kind of strategic insights are provided by IB. Okay, and then you will also find the IB is doing a lot of valuation. Okay, so if suppose uh, if Kotak Mahindra Bank wish to buy ING Vaishya, then what is the amount that Kotak Mahindra should pay to the ING Vaishya Bank? So the investment bank is engaged in entire valuation of the business and coming up with a single price. How exactly that payment will happen? Whether it will happen in cash, whether it will happen in stocks, what is the method? So that entire piece is actually into your business valuation process. So investment bank also provide this core services to their clients. Then pitch book preparation is basically, if suppose I wish to go and uh, buy or sell my business, then I will have to create a profile of my company so that my investors or somebody who I'm planning to buy should know what my company is actually into. So they will create the entire pitch book. Okay, this pitch book is generally created in when you are into your sell side. So you already have a business, you will create entire cash flows, will create the profile of the company, and you will try to sell it to your client. Okay, further, identification of prospective buyers or targets. So if you're into a sell side business, then you will go for a prospective buyer. If you're into a buy side, then you will actually go and look for a target whom you can buy. Then you will also find IBs doing a lot of due diligence. Okay. Now what happens in this due diligence is that if suppose Kotak Mahindra understands, okay, we want to go ahead and buy ING Vaishya. How do we make sure that ING Vaishya is proper? There is no fraud that has happened in that company. The numbers which we are seeing right now is proper. So you will engage IB to do a due diligence on behalf of Kotak Mahindra. Okay, and this is a very critical step. Then you will also find negotiation of the deals being managed by investment banking team. Okay, so if suppose ING Vaishya is saying, okay, we want to sell our company at $100 million, then Kotak Mahindra might wish say, okay, we'll buy only at 70. But that negotiation process is done by an expert team in the investment banking domain itself, and they provide these negotiations services also to your client. So these are your primary services which you will find within M&A that is given to your client. Okay. Now I will quickly walk you through the buy side and sell side process. Okay. So when you are into a buy side M&A, you are looking for a target to buy. That is the entire motive. Okay. So acquisition strategy. Okay. That essentially means if suppose we identify a person to, if we identify a target to buy, how will we approach that target? Whether we have a funding available or not. Okay. So that acquisition strategy is done first. The back end, the background or the homework is done first, and then you move towards identifying which all potential acquisition targets are available in the market. Okay, and once you have identified a list of particular potential acquisition targets, you'll do a valuation for your client, and then within the valuation you will create the entire 6 years 7 years of cash flow statement, income statement, and you will see if suppose we buy that target, what is going to be the future, how we'll make money out of that business. Okay, then very important, your financing strategy. So IB will also help you out to raise money to acquire a company. Okay, and they do generally leverage buyouts also. They will help companies to issue a bond to raise money so that they can go and buy a company, they will buy the target company, or else they will create a structure in such a way where it's a combination of cash and stock. Okay, so those kind of financing strategies are done at this stage, and then you have your negotiation, and finally the contract has been signed, due diligence and contract has been signed for the M&A from the buy side. Similarly, if you look at the sell side, that means you already have a business and you wish to sell that business to somebody else. Okay, so that the first step is primarily what is the strategy, like the groundwork that you did for your buy side, you'll also do a groundwork for your sell side. Then second is you're going to be finding the potential buyers in the market which you feel has the business which is in line with your business and will be beneficial if they buy your business. Okay, so you will try to find those potential buyers. You will create your business financial projection for the next 5 6 years, and you will go and do that meeting with that potential buyers. You will engage their top management. You will propose it that we want to sell our company. Would you be interested? If yes, then okay, let's have a meeting. Let's have a. They might have a lot of questions regarding our business, so you will have to answer those questions. Then the hardcore negotiation happens, and finally you will find a signing of agreement wherein your company gets merged into the activity. Okay, so these are your two buy side and sell side that a normal merger and acquisition follows into IB, and IB is into the entire end to end also. And a lot of time, what happens is that an investment bank is not engaged to the end to end. They might provide service only, say for example, with respect to evaluation of the performance evaluation. They might provide services into identifying the acquisition, or also into financing strategy only. Next, this is a very important business for IB, sales and trading. So we'll first talk about the sales team within the front office, and then we'll move towards the trading side. Okay, so within a sales team, you will find we'll find agents within IB who are there to sell securities to client. Okay, and how are these securities coming? So if suppose an IB is primarily doing an underwriting, or they are involved into a bond issue, they want a they want a bigger institution to buy them, for example an hedge fund or a pension fund, to buy those kind of securities, so they are involved into it. So basically, they are there for the sale of security to secondary market or primary market also. Then they are responsible. The sales team is primarily responsible to develop relationship within those bigger organizations who have a lot of cash, so that they can buy security whenever an IB or investment bank is available to issue them. Okay, then they connect with portfolio managers, okay, to get information about how exactly they are spending their money and what is their outlook about the market, and how if they will be able to buy a particular set of security from their portfolio into their own portfolio. Okay, then you will also find a sales team monitoring a lot of market information, and they have to be on their toes with respect to selling the security to the client, and communicating those information to the investor on a timely basis is also a responsibility of the sales team. Okay, in a broader nutshell, sales team is basically helping clients to sell security or sell instruments to those people who have a lot of capital, who have a lot of ability to buy. Then you will find trading side, trading business within IB. This is a very hectic role because you will find a lot of traders sitting on the floor and doing trading either on behalf of their customer or on their own proprietary money. When I'm saying proprietary money, it's basically your investment bank's own money. Okay, and you'll find a lot of traders who specialize in a particular set of instrument. So, for example, you will find, for example, an FX desk altogether. You'll find 2-3 traders only working in FX, and their responsibility is to make money for the IB. Then you'll find your equity desk, your fixed income desk, your credit rates desk. So those kind of different desks who have specialization into a particular product available to do selling or trading. Okay, then what happens is that normally what they do is they buy or sell security, either generally primarily is a bank or somebody who is also an IB investment bank. Okay, so majority of the time their counterparties are commercial banks or an IB itself. Okay, they generally engage in your agency and proprietary business. This is very important understanding. If you wish to work in an investment bank, you should know these terms. So in the next slide we are going to be doing a detail about those things. Okay, a trading team is also responsible for doing a lot of risk management activity. Okay, because since the trading team has an ability to do a lot of capital flow within the IB, there's a high chance that there can be a fraud within this team. So what happens is that a lot of traders gets limit on the basis of their past trading behavior, what all potential of revenue they have. So for example, if I'm a trader on an FX desk and I trade only in INR USD, so within the system in which I do trade, I'll be given an access to only FX, and that to INR USD FX, and that too I'll be having a limit of only 10 lakh or 1 million USD amount itself. I cannot do a trade higher than that. If I wish to do a trade, I will have to take an approval from the front office or a trading team head, and also an approval from the risk team. So a lot of your risk management and capital management activity is done within your trading team itself. And more and loss, overall they will have to buy or sell this security on behalf of the client, which is basically on agency business, and they sometimes do it on their proprietary business also, which is their own money, which is investment bank's own money. Okay, so we are just doing a deep dive into what all types of trading do an IB does. The first is their agency trading, which is basically on behalf of your client, which basically means if suppose Mahindra Group has a treasury business, a treasury function within it, and which manages a lot of cash inflow and outflow for Mahindra, and they want to enter into a swap agreement, and they want to take a position in the market. So they will have an account with an investment bank who will help them to trade globally across different markets. Okay, and a lot of your hedge funds basically are also your customers of the IB, and what they need is they need an ability of investment bank to execute trade on a very efficient scale, so that there is no impact on the price. Now I'll give you a quick example of how does that happen. Suppose there is a hedge fund who wants to buy, say, 1 million shares of Google, okay, on New York Stock Exchange or wherever it is listed. Okay, So what happens is that investment bank will have a system which will help them to buy chunks of global share, so that in such a way so that their prices are not getting impacted. Because if you go and directly buy 1 million shares of Google, the price will go up. So in order to avoid that, investment bank will route the trades to different mechanism, either to different entities, so that your prices are the price that you receive is primarily very favorable for the client. So that is your agency trading business, wherein you provide support to your client. Then you'll also find proprietary trading, wherein suppose you have JP Morgan, who has a lot of revenue coming in, and they also want to invest in the market so that their revenue grow. Similarly, your HDFC Bank has a lot of their own money coming through your fees and revenue, so they want to invest in the market. So those proprietary trading desks helps firms own money to be invested. Okay, and they do a lot of speculations in the market, because if they feel that the INR USD is going to go from 70 to 80, and then they will start taking position the market. They will start buying USD, and they will wait for 70 price of 70 to go to 80, and then they will start selling it. So they do a lot of speculation, but it includes a lot of risk in their business. Okay, high profit potential for the investment bank is proprietary trading. And these two informations are very important if you wish to work in an IB. In generally in an interview, they will ask you these questions. And finally, the fund management business, wherein IB helps provide services like asset management, wealth management, investment management, through which they help clients, for example, retail client customers, through their wealth management business, financial institutions to their investment management businesses, asset management businesses, pension funds, government bodies who have a lot of money. Okay, and they want to invest in market, but they have their own different risk sets. Okay, for example, retail customer might not wish to take a lot of risk, but a financial institution or a government body might be interested in taking a lot of risk. So each business will have their own investment goal. Each client will have their own investment goal. So on the basis of those investment goals, they will offer products to their clients. That can be your equity, your fixed income, your index. For example, if you want to invest in your gold ETFs, if you want to invest directly into Sensex, or a portfolio which is exactly matching your Sensex or Nifty. So those kind of services are also provided. Alternative investment is very active in US market. So if suppose a big corporation wants to invest into a big building, and they want to buy an entire tower into New York Times Square, then they will go to an IB to help them with the entire process. Okay, then alternative investment includes your investment into real estate, into a lot of arts, gold. So those kind of funds which are not your traditional investment like equity or fixed income. Okay, then a lot of IBs help investment into, for example, financial institutions into multi-asset investment. That means they will create a portfolio for a financial institution which will have either equity also, fixed income also, your real estate also, and also your alternative investment assets. And finally, in order to do that, they will provide services also, which is generally provided free to clients, so that they come and buy asset through them. And they provide solution so that their alpha, which is basically your profit, okay, and their income is sustained, and there is low risk. Okay, so these are your terms which are used in your in the fund management industry. The beta is basically a systemic risk, which is basically the market risk that your investment is actually facing. Then you will find alpha, which is basically how much better you are performing as compared to your benchmark. So if I'm an investor, and my benchmark is S&P 500, and S&P 500 made 10% this year, and I am making 12%, that means I have a 2% alpha. So your responsibility when you are into an investment management team is to give that alpha to your client. Alternately manage the entire risk of the client's portfolio. So this is how they will help your client to raise money in the entire segment, manage their money, and do merger and acquisition, do underwriting. Okay, so we through this presentation we try to cover all the major businesses for your investment banking. Okay, and we'll quickly walk you through. We'll start out with the queries. I'm sure a lot of people have raised their hand, and they will be having a lot of queries. But before that, we'll quickly move into few of the examples of investment bank that you see today. Okay, for example, Barclays, Citigroup, Citigroup, Deutsche Banks. These companies. A lot of these companies have offices in Bombay. Okay, then you will find Credit Suisse having offices in Pune. Barclays is also having office in Pune. BNY Mellon also have office in Pune. Then you'll find DB in Bombay, Morgan Stanley in Bangalore also, Bombay also. JP Morgan is also available in Bangalore. UBS is also in Mumbai and in Hyderabad. So those kind of job opportunities are available in different locations across India, currently only into your metros. But what these big investment banks are also doing is that, for example, you'll find Morgan Stanley is having a tie-up with e-clerks or State Street, and these State Streets and e-clerks have offices in Nagpur. You'll find them having offices in Chennai, in smaller towns also, where there is a lot of job opportunity available. Okay, and you'll also find a lot of banks who provide. So they have a full-fledged bank available, and they provide side by side investment banking services. For example, HSBC, BNP Paribas is also doing a big chunk into your business. Wells Fargo and Namura is also there in Bombay. So these companies are there, which provides you with an opportunity to join their team. Jobs are also there. And finally, boutique investment banks. So boutique investment bank is very different from a big bulge investment bank, because big bulge investment bank provides all of the services generally. But a boutique investment bank might be only into one particular service. Okay. For example, you might only be into a merger and acquisition, or you might only into issuing debt for a company. So those kind of banks you will find, these are smaller banks available in India, especially in Mumbai and Delhi, who who are there, who provides you with an opportunity to start your career into investment bank. Okay, you can start your career over here, get the knowledge, work for 3 4 years, and then you can move to a bigger brand of investment banks, and they can help you to bring your skills into not only into your product side, also into your sales and presentation skills. Presentation skills is very important in your investment bank. Your Excel skills, because what will happen is that when you go to an IB, you will find yourself doing a lot of number crunching for your clients and for your senior management. So those kind of habits will definitely help you in your long run. So what I would also suggest you is that you can start your career with these boutique investment bank, and then you can move to your bigger bulge bracket business. Okay. Now, what we do primarily is we are intelligent, and we basically help students, candidates to prepare for certain examination, which will help them to reach their goal of working into an IB or a commercial bank, or enter into a broader role into finance. Okay. So we provide our services for CFA, FRM, CAIA, ERP also, and we conduct live classroom sessions in Bombay. Currently, we also have live online batches running for CFA and FRM, in which we provide recorded sessions. There is a lot of self-study preparatory notes, juice notes are also provided. Then you have revision sessions for you, test series, mock papers are provided. You have your chapter-wise question bank. So this is one of the highest that we provide in the industry, and we also provide placement assistant and doubt solving. These services are primarily related to your international certification, but apart from that, for our students, for our candidates, what we do is we create a lot of we are in a process to create a lot of your self-enhancement workshops, wherein you'll find having sessions on how to create your LinkedIn profile, how to create your CV, how to do negotiation for your salary, those kind of stuff. So those kind of skill enhancement workshops will also be conducted for our candidates in near future. Then we're going to be having these similar kind of webinars for our students, which is going to be primarily into product. So next webinar that we are planning to do is on interest rate swaps and cross currency swaps, so that when you go for an IB interview, you should know these basic information. Okay, so those kind of service webinars will be there. We also are in the process to start out live projects for our students and candidates, so that they get an entire view how exactly you work in an IB, or how exactly you work in a research role, you exactly work in a risk management role. So how do we do it? We basically provide live classroom sessions for CFA, for FRM, online sessions for CFA, FRM, and we also have a recorded session for students who cannot join because of their work schedule. Okay, and what all future topics that we have lined up is trade life cycle. This is very important session that we have lined up in the next 2 3 weeks. Networking skills. We're going to be also be talking about how hedge fund works and what are the different parameters that you will see in that. Next week we're going to be covering introduction to swaps market also, and all other different similar topics that we wish to cover, so that candidates in the industry or working who are working in finance can enhance their knowledge and can become better in their roles. Okay, so now I'm going to be opening up for queries. I'm going to be unmuting you all, and whoever wish to speak can unmute yourself from your side and can start asking questions. Yes, I have unmuted all of you guys. Anyone has a particular question with respect to the presentation, with respect to IB, you guys can throw it to me. Yes, I can see 2 3 people raising hand. They should be able to unmute themselves. Yep. Any questions from anyone? Anything related to the presentation? Anything that you wish me to answer is also available. Hmm. I think so few of the people are not able to unmute themselves. Okay. Okay. Somebody has sent me a chat. Okay. And how do you prepare yourself to enter into an IB? Okay, well, that means how many, what all different certifications are available. So currently in finance, you will find uh, either you have to be an MBA from a very premier B school. Okay, that means either IIM or FMS or MDI Gurgaon or JBIMS, those kind of stuff, those kind of colleges, or either you have need to have some global certifications like FRM or CFA. Okay, FRM, CFA, and CAIA. These are triple crown that normally people refer to. And because these certifications are very important when you go to a role within an IB, because this certification will prepare you with the base work. Rest is up to you, how you grow yourself in that role. And also, you'll find a lot of IBs expecting candidates to have technical skills in terms of Python, in terms of R, in terms of MATLAB, and Excel VBA also. I hope I have answered the chat. If anybody has not been able to directly ask question, they can chat also. Yes, please go on. I have unmuted you guys. You can directly unmute yourself from your end and start asking questions. Okay. Somebody else has also pinged me that what is the scope of entering into an operations business, operation role within an IB? Okay, so what happens is that whenever you look for a job within an IB, the first and the foremost role that you will find is operations role. Okay, wherein there's going to be trade settlement role, trade clearing role. You'll also find BCP kind of related roles. You'll also find confirmation related roles. You will also find reconciliation related roles. But a lot of people enter into these kind of roles, and then understanding the business, they try to move towards the risk side, towards compliance side, audit side, and if possible, towards the front office. Okay, front office is a bit difficult because they generally hire people from a very strong analytical background. Okay, so if you look at the Morgan Stanley front office in Bombay, you will find people who have done either from IIM Bangalore or IIM Ahmedabad or from Harvard. So, if you want to get into that kind of role, then you will have to be extraordinarily good in your finance skills, your networking skills, and your ability to sell yourself as a candidate. That has to be awesome if you wish to go into these kind of roles. But definitely, if you get an opportunity to enter into an IB through operations role, then also you can definitely do that. That should not be a problem, because what should be your perspective is to uh, get into the bank and see how bank is actually working. What all different opportunities are there? For example, if you look at JP Morgan in Bombay, they have a huge team, and if you get an opportunity, then within 18 months, which is their buffer period to take an IJP, which is internal job posting, uh, you generally get an opportunity to move either into a compliance team or a legal team or into a technology side also. So a lot of my students have moved from operations to risk side, and a lot of my students have also moved from compliant operations to compliance or operations to audit side also, post completing their either level one of FRM or level one of CFA. Yeah. Anyone has a query? Okay. So a lot of people who have put in their query. For example, Pratik Jani has mentioned, do investment bank work with small and mid-sized companies or startup? Yes, they do. They do work with a lot of smaller companies, but they have a threshold. For example, if I look at bigger investment bank in India, like for example JP Morgan, so they might not go and work with somebody who is below $100 million threshold. But you will find a lot of smaller investment banks who are there. For example, Pink. PINCK, PINC, Pink. There's Avendes as an investment bank. Then Nomura also does a lot of businesses with smaller companies. Okay, so definitely it's there. Then what is the difference between sales and trading banking? So trading is wherein you trading side is this question is asked by one of the candidate. Uh, what happens is that when you are into a trading team, you get a mandate from your client to do a trade. Either it can be a buy or it can be a sell. When you are into a sales team within an IB, your investment bank was into was about to have an IPO, for example, and they want to raise out, for example, an IPO for DMart, and they want to sell that DMart to mutual fund. So they need a team who will talk to mutual funds across India, across globally, who are interested in that issue, and they will try to sell that. Okay, so sales and trading is very different business, and they are very prominent businesses, the prominent role within IB. Okay, what is the course fee for FRM? Navneer Raj has asked me this. FRM has a two-level course, two-level which you can give the exam either in May and November. Okay, and the entire fees for the exam is around $1,200. That is the institute fee that you'll have to they will have to pay, and it includes your one-time registration of around $400, and then you have an exam fee also. So that's around if you go for level one, your exam fee will be around $425. If you do not clear that exam, you'll have to end up paying the fee again. Okay. Somebody is asking me. Okay, one second. Should you go for FRM or CFA? Okay, Sharanya Roy has asked if should she go for an FRM? I would suggest either you go for an FRM or CFA. Both is definitely going to help you in your career, because what is going to happen 5 years, 7 years down the line is that uh, right now, if you wish to go into an IB, generally what they do is they will hire people from an MBA background, okay, or somebody who has a work experience in an IB. Okay, so entry level is generally now become in major corporations and MBA. If you look ahead in 5 years, 7 years down the line, you'll find for a risk role within your bank or within your IB, FRM will become a base, because majority of the candidates would have done FRM. So if you want to enter into that team, you will need at least Then somebody asked, does FRM along with an MBA tier 2 college helps joining an IBA? Srinath has asked this question. Definitely, this will help you because MBA will give you an overall understanding about this that will help you to groom your other skills along with your finance knowledge. And FRM or a CFA, which is an international certification, will help you at a global scale. Because if tomorrow you get an opportunity to move to Singapore or a Hong Kong desk or a Hong Kong side, then FRM and CFA is globally recognized, and this will help you. So definitely an MBA plus an FRM is going to take you to a long career chart. And the starting package for FRM in India is FRM charter holder. That means somebody who's already cleared level 2 would be around 8 lakhs at least. And if you go for CFA, so now what has happened in the market, if somebody who's already a CFA level 1 cleared might not get that much amount of traction, because a lot of people who have already cleared CFA level 1 are available in the market. So either you have to be either a CFA level 2 cleared or CFA level 2 plus experience, CFA level 3 cleared, then only industry starts recognizing you. And CFA level 2 generally is around 8 to 9 lakh starting package. Okay, but obviously it depends upon how you crack the interview. If you have the skill set, if you have the certification, but you're not able to speak in the interview, nobody can help you, right? So there is one more question. What is a MATLAB? Okay, MATLAB is primarily your system, which is basically used to, like your Python or R is a system which is used to work on huge amount of data. So bank, what they do is, suppose a bank is having a portfolio of $500 million, in which you will find an asset of around, which has an asset from US market, from Brazil market, from Russia market. And if suppose you wish to buy a particular asset from UK market and put that in that portfolio, how that portfolio is going to change, that entire scenario can be triggered and seen in MATLAB. So it's just one of the tools that an investment bank use, or a lot of your financial data analyst teams also use it. What is CAIA? Sharanya Rai has asked. CAIA is basically Certified Alternative Investment Analyst. Okay, so when I'm saying alternative investment, it is basically something which is different from your equity, fixed income, or normal security. So you'll find investment into diamonds or precious metals, investment into real estate, investment into infrastructure projects, investment into rare antiques and arts. For example, you're buying Mona Lisa painting. So those kind of alternative investment, you need somebody to value those investment, provide services. So CIS is a certification which basically helps you to be ready for those kind of work. So that is Certified Alternative Investment Analyst. Okay, how are the IBs are regulated? Okay, so primarily IBs globally are if suppose there is an investment bank registered in US, so Federal Reserve and SEC generally are regulating those kind of IB. And if suppose you are an international bank, also you are doing some operations in US, so then also Federal Reserve has certain set of mandate that you have to follow. Similarly, if you work in India, then you have to follow certain norms about IB, RBI. But what happens is that a lot of your IBs in India, they do not do active trading into Indian market. They have an office in India, but they do a lot of trading in either in Hong Kong market or say EMEA region, which is basically your London market or US market. Okay. Now Puneet Agarwal has asked how many hours you should go give for an FRM course. Primarily, you should give around 200 to 250 hours of study. And one of the easiest way to clear the exam is to solve more than 2,000 questions, different variety of questions, so that you are ready for the exam. Because FRM exam is a bit tricky and thoda difficult. So you have to be ready with that. Then Sunita asked about if CA articleship gets counted in a CFA charter holder. No, you need to have a full-time employment. So CA article is generally is considered as a part-time employment. Okay. Then Mohammed has asked, can we get into an IB with a bachelor's degree and about 8 to 10 years of sales experience into IT industry? Only your sales or IT experience and a bachelor degree might not be helpful. You might get a role into an IT side of an IB, but that will not be into a core finance. If you wish to be in a core finance role, then you will have to tell your recruiters how do you know finance. Basically, primarily, you have to create a story that okay, I was working in an IT team and I was coordinating uh, with the finance teams or a lot of risk management team. And then I got to know about this. I started preparing for either a CFA, whichever course you are doing, and I learned about this and I cleared the exam. And now I feel that I'm ready for the finance stream. But only on your IT experience, it will be a bit difficult to move into. You'll have to do some kind of certification, right? If suppose Umesh has asked, what is the uh, package that you can expect if you go to an IB? Okay, see, there are in investment bank, there are people who are also working at 3 lakh or 2.5 lakh, 4 lakh rupees also. But there are also people who are working at 18 lakhs to 20 lakhs with a work experience of 4 years. So it depends upon what is your profile, how 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 you are presenting yourself to your recruiter. That is a big differentiation factor that you will find. So I know a friend of mine who has a bachelor's degree who was working with Morgan Stanley and only a bachelor's degree, but he was awesome in technology. He was awesome in product side. He knew in and about your swaps, about your repo transaction. So when he used to go for an interview, nobody would reject him because he has such a good product knowledge plus technical knowledge. So definitely, what is your profile? That definitely matters. But if you go for a big investment bank, say for example JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley, and you have a decent profile, then you will find end up getting at least a package of 6 to 7 lakhs. That depends on how you crack the interview also. So I think so. Srinath again asked, what is the normal package? I just answered that query. Rohit was asking about what is the impact of fintech on IB? A huge impact. So what is happening now is a lot of your IBs are hiring bots, then algorithm, artificial intelligence into their processes. Definitely, it will take a lot of roles, but those roles will only go which are mandate, which are basically your monotonous roles. For example, operations, core operation roles, reconciliation roles. So those kind of roles will move out of your IB because technology will overtake. But gradually, you will find people moving towards those qualitative work, such as compliance, such as audit, such as risk management, and technology risk side also. So you will find a lot of people moving to that side. So there's a huge impact of fintech currently, but not many banks are able to take a leap into that. So they're not able to engage into a full scale operation kind of model. So they are just doing testing. They're taking feedback from the team. They are into currently that process. Uh, few more questions. Does IB takes FRM level candidates? Yes. My Srinath had asked this question. We had candidates who were there working with Kotak Security and cleared their FRM level 1 and got an opportunity to Deutsche Bank at a package of around 100% hike, which around 7.5 lakh. So, and that to a graduate with 2 years of experience. So definitely IB takes FRM CFA candidates. Okay, but definitely we'll have to crack that interview. That is very important. Then Ankit has asked, I have an MSc in investment and finance. Can I enter into IB field? Definitely you can enter, but I'm not sure which college you have done for your MSc from. If you're able to do that MSc from a very good college, then definitely you should be able to reach. You should be able to enter into IB. Okay, you have a very good shot of entering into a small boutique firm because they hire a lot of MSc candidates from investment bank and finance team. Then somebody asked, can you prepare for CFA and FRM parallelly? Yes, definitely you can prepare. There should not be a problem. But if you are working professional, then I would say you should not do it. So because it's CFA and FRM will take a lot of your time and you have to work also, right? So that becomes a bit of a problem. Somebody asked, Sunil asked, what is CFA or FRM, which is harder to crack? Okay, this is a very individual specific question because what happens is CFA is more into accounting or investment side, whereas risk management is more into statistics, more into risk domain. So it depends upon what your background has been. But if you compare CFA level 1 and CFA level 2, a lot of those content comes into FRM. So FRM is a bit tricky, but definitely you'll find a lot of good packages coming to FRM candidates also. Okay, Rohit Grover has questioned is okay. This is very specific to Rohit. What we can do is you can reach out to our WhatsApp number and we'll guide you on this question. This is very specific to your career. We'll not be able to address that. So anyone else has a particular question, you can unmute yourself and ask that, or else you can post it in chat also. That should not be a problem.
Sir, I would like to ask you, in the last of that, the last slide, you have mentioned that you are going to prepare some live projects. So can you
Yes.
give some more light? What kind of projects are there
So
and how it
primarily
works?
so this is very specific. So this is only for our students, okay, as of now, wherein we will those students who have the capability of being able to take that live project to a next level. So we might give them a project to do an equity valuation of the entire portfolio, which is there for our client. Okay, so we have a business which is related to equity valuation and fund analysis. So we might give live projects into those stream, but it depends upon what how much capable that candidate is, because when you're doing a live project, the entire idea is that the candidate will do a lot of firefighting on its own and will come up with solutions. So then only. So as of now, what we have done is we have opened up only an internship wherein we are looking at candidates, how good they're writing articles related to finance, how good their understanding is, and then they will gradually move candidates to live projects depending upon their profile. Anyone else has a question? Okay, so I'm closing the session. Thank you very much for joining. We'll be having a session next Saturday also, same time, 7 to 8:30. And you should either get that information through WhatsApp or our LinkedIn page or our Facebook page. Okay, thank you very much. Stay in touch. Bye. Take care.